Greetings from Messyland, population me. Yes, hello benefit sponges or other people on Monday. And how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm drinking tea. Hopefully I won't spill any on my crotch this week because it has got a lot of milk in it. And you don't want milk on your trousers. That's a little pro tip. Life is a mess right now, but that's fine. It's not a horrible mess. It's just I need to sort my shit out. Got people coming over to record Daft Souls this evening, as I do mostly on Thursdays. So after I've done this, I really need to start getting my stuff in gear. I'm getting really stressed about moving house. I know that moving house is like one of the top causes of stress, but yeah, I think it annoys me because I don't like to leave problems unsolved. Every time I've got a problem in my life or something that's not quite right, I like to either forget about it and just think, nope, I've decided I don't care about that, so I'm not going to care about it. I'm not going to allow myself to care about it. Or deal with it. I think that's the healthiest way to deal with anything in life, really. You either work out a way to solve the problem, solve it, or you realise it's an unsolvable problem and do your best to forget about it. But moving house is annoying because I know I'm doing it, but I can't do it now. And I just want to do it. I just want to get it done. But I can't. I might actually be able to move slightly earlier than I thought. I might be able to start moving on the 20th, which I may do because everything's kind of hitting the fan at the end of this month in terms of stuff that needs to be done. But yeah, I'm looking forward to actually having our massive throw out. Actually, I've just got so much junk that I don't need in this room and this house. So I'm going to go around with a bin bag and get really, really brutal. I'm not going to murder anyone. That hasn't made it sound like I was going to murder someone. I'm not, I promise. So yeah, that's on my mind a lot at the moment. Really boring, I know, right? But I'm so excited about moving. I'm so excited about having my own studio, having everything set up. It's going to be awesome. I'm really, really psyched for it. And also just because I've got like lots of ways I want to use the green screen, it's a real nightmare. I mentioned this last week, I'm repeating myself. I'm not going to do that again. Anyway, all very good. Exciting stuff that I'm working on at the moment, actually. I commissioned a dude. I've forgotten his real name. His Twitter name is A Big Bat. And he is a kind of concept artist, I think, by trade. And I've seen his stuff on Twitter quite a few times. And I love his art style. And I know he does these sort of lunchtime sketches where he just kind of throws together something really quickly that's still amazing. So I commissioned him to make something for me. And it's kind of the interior of a spaceship with the idea that I want to make an FTL video where I'm a space captain. And actually, if you look at the screen now, I'll have it on the screen. If you're listening to this on the podcast, then sorry, you're going to have to go to the video because I can't transmit images via audio. But yes, it's awesome. This is awesome. I mean, it's a very simple concept drawing. He did it quite quickly, obviously, but I love it. And it's definitely kind of nails that kind of FTL/Star Wars kind of broken future look. And I'm so excited. To the point at which actually I was planning to make the video about FTL this week, but I've realised now I'm not going to because this is too good. I love it. So now I want to do it justice, which means both doing it justice on a technical level and doing it justice on a comedy level. Because the general gist I want to be that I'm just the inept captain of an FTL spaceship sitting in my cockpit, talking through communications and pressing buttons, and you never actually see any of the other crew, but the idea that I'm maybe going through multiple crews due to my own ineptitude or doing bad things and just being useless. So it'll be a combination of jokes about FTL, which is a great game. You should play it if you haven't played it. I'm really hooked again to the advanced edition that came out for free. So jokes about FTL and about that anyone who's played FTL will understand. But some of those jokes will also just be general science fiction jokes because, you know, it's sort of like, it's all relative stuff, relatable, sorry. And then just jokes that are just stupid jokes to do with sci-fi or space. But I haven't quite got them all there. I've got some general gist I want to do, but I want to make sure that A, the jokes are really funny, and B, I want to make sure that it looks really good. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this this concept drawing and then like really go to town on it with After Effects. Not in terms of like severely warping it, but I want to add like kind of lighting and maybe some sort of very light kind of atmospheric, not quite smoke, but kind of the sense of there being particles. Yeah, I really want to toy around with that and make sure that it's like that I'm able to green screen myself into the chair, but also kind of make myself look like I'm really there with some cool lighting. And even on the background, like there's sort of some vague insinuations of kind of screens and stuff. I want to actually be able to like make it so there are like light sources and stuff, kind of maybe moving, but at least intermittent, like little blinking lights. I'm excited by it actually because it's a dual thing of I love FTL, I love sci-fi, and it's a great chance to do some cool sci-fi jokes. But at the same time, it's like going to be a really fun little After Effects challenge to really kind of step up my game with that and try and make some stuff look cool. If you want an example of that, actually, I did that with the Game of Thrones abridged video. Actually, I'll show you that as well. I might as well, actually. I'll show you that just to give you an idea of what I'm going for. If you look at this, this is actually the backdrop that I use at the end of all of my Game of Thrones abridged videos. I obviously put a picture of the Iron Throne in front of that, and then I put the green screen version of myself sitting on the Iron Throne. Spoiler, I'm not actually sitting on the Iron Throne. It's all fake. But this background is actually... What I did was I took a very, very low resolution JPEG of the location in the TV show where the Iron Throne is, and then I kind of hid the fact that there were artifacts there by using a camera blur, so it kind of takes the edges off. And then what I did was I added an element of kind of slightly moving atmospheric smoke. It's very subtle, but it just gives a sense of atmosphere, a sense of movement. And then I created these sort of dynamic flickering lights, basically just adding candle lights. So I took it was a static picture with some candles on it, and I made it so the candles looked like they were slightly blinking. Quite cool. I don't want to show off, but I was really happy with that. It took a little while to do, but it's the sort of thing that 99% of people won't notice when they watch my Game of Thrones abridged videos. But yeah, basically it makes it look like there's a location, and I love the way you can turn a static image from a location into something. And that's what I'm aiming to do with this FTL cockpit. I've got some other cool ideas as well. In fact, that I've worked out that what I can do is, and this is why I don't know when I'll do it. I'll try and do it in the next few weeks, but I may well wait until I'm in my new place, just because I like the idea of having, like, I could actually strap a keyboard. I get a bloody keyboard, like so. You can just see the edge of the keyboard there. And I can strap that to, I kind of figure if I can have that somewhere propped up against something in the same location as where the panels are in the cockpit, then it means I can actually have that sensation of, rather than me having to fake pressing buttons, if I'm literally pressing buttons that are on a fixed console that is in the same location, hopefully that will just not only give you some mild sound effects, but also just simple stuff like, I don't know, it's difficult when you fake doing something that's an action. It's difficult to make it look real if there's another force involved, and that's why like mimes pulling ropes are quite impressive. You know, it's like if you're pretending pressing buttons, it's quite difficult to do when there aren't actually buttons there, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I think about things way too much, but I'm excited about this because it's a little project that's going to take a little while, and it's cool because it's like, again, it's the sort of thing that I wouldn't do. It's a one-off joke. I thought about making it a series, but I don't think I've got enough to do with it. There's a chance I might expand on it in the future, maybe, but it's probably just going to be a one-off joke video. But yeah, the idea of investing this much time and thought into a video that'll be maybe 4 minutes long and will never be used, any of the assets probably never used again, is insane. But it's exactly the kind of insanity that apparently you're supporting. So you're insane. Anyway, that's about all I'm doing at the moment. So I'll probably jump ahead onto some questions. Questions. Peter Kaig asks, what do you think of the Dark Souls 2 PC pre-order bonuses? Basically talking about the fact that you can get these early weapon unlocks. I think the whole pre-order bonus stuff for Dark Souls 2 is pretty shite, to be honest. I don't like that at all. Especially because most games, you know, they just go, hey, get this special laser rifle or get this cool gun skin that makes your gun look like it's a dragon, fucking an alligator. And it's like, oh, whatever, man, whatever. Doesn't matter because most of these games are quite flippant towards weapons anyway, right? They're just like, it's just stuff. They throw stuff at you. You know, I mean, like Mass Effect 3, for example, that had some pre-order guns, and that didn't matter because actually by Mass Effect 3, it was just like, hey, look at all these cool guns. It's like, well, what's the lore with this gun? It's like, I don't know, it was made by aliens. Look what it does. It's like, and that was fine because the guns in that game felt awesome and it was doing its lore and story elsewhere. It didn't really need to be like, hey, these weapons are really important because this. Whereas Dark Souls, you have so little interaction with the world that the objects in the world play a major part in the narrative and the story and unfolding what's going on. And in fact, in the first game, the majority of the story was unfolded by people reading item descriptions and piecing together what the whole world was about. So I think the same thing is true in Dark Souls 2 to a degree. There's very little dialogue with characters, etc. You know, I think that the weapons and equipment in Dark Souls 2 do feel a bit more like traditional loot than they did perhaps in the first Dark Souls. But there's still a degree of it being storytelling and being part of the overall narrative and piecing together stuff. But yeah, also I just think it's not the right fit for it, you know? It's really not the right fit for it. I think, I don't know, it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say. I think they could have done something better. They could have done something different, I think, with the Dark Souls 2 pre-order. I'm not sure what. I think perhaps something like dyes maybe would have been good. Like maybe just the ability to like slightly tint armor. Like nothing that would change the art direction too much, but maybe slightly tint weapons, and I don't know. That could have been cool. But I think having equipment that you can't get unless you pre-order, or giving people an early... I don't know if they did give an early advantage or not. I'm not going to comment on that because I might be wrong. It says early weapon unlocks, but maybe it did give you stuff early in the game. I don't know. I just think it's pretty crap. And I think that I kind of lump in pre-order unlocks and pre-order bonuses in the same... It's sort of basically on that kind of pay-to-win thing, really, of being like, you know... It's not good. I think there are ways to get around it and things you can offer people that fans will care about but don't actually change the flow of the game. I think including stuff that like content in games that isn't there otherwise that changes the core game is just a bit crap, personally. Keith McNally says, you are one of the very few professionals, it's very kind of you to call me a professional, I wouldn't necessarily agree, to deconstruct Bioshock Infinite while other reviewers lauded it without much deeper analysis. For a game as bizarre and troubled as Infinite, the blandly positive reaction from critics was surprising and disappointing. Do you have any theories about why modern games criticism sometimes fails in this way? You know, I think it's really complicated. I think I've talked about this when I made my video about the reviewers for Dark Souls 2. And I still read reviews of Dark Souls 2 and cringe my fucking face off, I've got to say. I'm still working my way through the game. I really want to try and finish it soon, actually, so I can put together my own little critique of it. But there's so many of the reviews are really shit, like, to be honest. So many of the reviews I've read are just go, oh, it's hard, it's difficult, oh, it's challenging, but it's rewarding. And it's like they don't actually really talk about the game in a meaningful way at all. They read like previews almost. I don't know. I just sort of think like, come on, guys, where's your analysis? Where's your thought about this? And I don't think that necessarily has to mean like really in-depth knowledge. I don't think it has to be like talking about the specific difference with, you know, invincibility frames on dodge rolls or any of the hardcore stuff. I think it's just sometimes like try and capture the spirit rather than just reading off bullet points that you can find in the box. But that's true for lots of reviews. And I think, I don't know, there is a degree with certain types of games where people just go nuts for it. Bioshock Infinite was a game that some people still really stand by and think it was one of the best games they've ever played. And actually, you know, a lot of time when I think a lot of the comments on my video, everything Bioshock Infinite gets wrong, a lot of people there were saying that, fuck you, it's the best game I've ever played. It's like, good for you. I'm glad you had a fun time. I don't know. I really don't know. It's just very whiz bang pow. I think sometimes as well, like there is a degree of, especially with big twists and stuff. I think a lot of Bioshock Infinite was very much based on the finale and based on the kind of you had to work through this very extended period of shooting men for tenuous reasons, so that you could then get to the end and finish it. And for me, that felt like a real slog because my ability to put up with just boring shooting for a long time is quite weak. I like the sky rail bits. A lot of people didn't like them. I loved them. I thought they were great fun. In fact, I found the bits with the sky rails were the only parts where I was really enjoying the combat. But I don't know. I mean, to be honest, what I can say is here's a bit of science for you, a bit of psychology, is primacy recency effect. Now, the primacy recency effect is proven to be that basically people most strongly remember the beginning and the end, right? There's all sorts of research into memory and to memory recognition and sort of salience in terms of what is not just remembered, but what stands out the most in people's memories. And it's proven that basically you remember the beginning and the end. Stuff in the middle you don't really tend to account for. So when you're thinking about whether or not things are good or not, there is that draw to be like, think about the start and think about the end. And actually this is often the case. Like whenever you do a memory test, and this is how they discovered it to be true, whenever you do a memory test and you'll read out a huge number of things to remember, generally speaking, you'll remember the first ones and then you'll remember the last ones, and in the middle it gets really hazy. And I think because I'm aware of this as a phenomenon, I'm aware of this just being a facet of the way that the human brain works, I try to kind of make sure that doesn't happen as best as I'm able to. And I'm not saying that's why a lot of reviewers got it wrong. Well, not got it wrong. It's all bloody subjective opinions. Difference of opinions is always good. But I think, for my money, I didn't agree with their thoughts on it. It could be down to that. I kind of felt like Bioshock Infinite had an incredibly strong start. I loved the setting. I loved the world building. It had really promising ideas. Even stuff like, you can't take this hot dog from this stand because it's stealing. It's like, oh man, they've got like a kind of like a real world sort of system where you're allowed to take this, but you can't take this because it's stealing. They just forgot about that. Like it was an incredibly messy game, and it's unsurprising now to read all these articles about how, as a studio, they're in a really weird place, and the development of the game was having a really difficult time. And apparently, that makes sense to me because it's a game that keeps introducing new characters and new ideas, and then doesn't really flesh any of that out. It's just like it's a roller coaster. It really is a roller coaster. And for all their ambitions to create something that was like not a Call of Duty, something with more artistic meaning, something with more depth, they literally create the same sort of thing. Call of Duty is a short 7-hour roller coaster or whatever, sometimes shorter, that you just get taken through this thing, and it's like a lucky dip, just different ideas, different things, and some of it's shit, but some of it's good, and whatever, done. It kind of felt like that to me. I don't know. I think that there's also a degree of hype, but I don't know, because sometimes people say that maybe people will review things more kindly because they really want it to be good and that they've been so excited by it. But I was like that. I was so excited about Bioshock Infinite. I was really hyped for it. And then when I finished it, I kind of felt disappointed. I kind of thought like, didn't really feel it that much. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story, but I think there were lots of things that were really wrong with it, as I've made clear. But I also think that I had the luxury of being able to do it at a different time. I think I didn't. Mine wasn't a review. The problem with the reviews is you have to play it alone, pre-launch. You might be able to talk to a few other journalists who are also playing it as well. But generally speaking, there is that fear about perhaps being wrong, And sometimes you see people on Twitter occasionally being like, is anyone else playing this game? Can we have a chat? And sometimes that chat is somebody just going, is it just me or is this game a bit shit? Because often you have games that you're expecting to be great and you're like, it's a bit shit, isn't it? And I don't like doing that, actually. I've never done that, to be honest. I think sometimes when I've already written my review and filed my copy, when I went to OXM, there were a few times where I kind of got in touch with a few of my journalist friends who were reviewing it as well, and were like, was it just me that thought it was a bit crap? And they were like, no, it was a bit crap. And I was like, whew, it was a relief. But I think checking in is like a bit counterproductive if you're using that as part of your kind of overall view. I think you have to trust your gut with these things. If you're a reviewer who doesn't trust your gut, then you probably shouldn't be a reviewer, because you have to trust your gut. You can't worry about what other people are going to think about your opinion. You can't worry if other people's opinion isn't going to agree with yours. But I think with these big hype games, people often there's a bit of a turnaround. You've got to get through things. I don't know. It's difficult, and I think there is also like the tendency to just try and rush through things when you need to. If you've got to write a review, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people who reviewed Bioshock Infinite may have thought, well, I haven't got time, so I'm going to play it on easy. Or like, I'm going to ramp it down to easy because I haven't got time. Well, actually, I ended up doing that just because I wasn't having fun playing it on hard or medium. It was shit. The last boss in particular, what the fuck? Anyway, I don't really have an answer for you on that one. I just think you've got to be wary of just when there's a game that's been mega hyped and you see all the scores coming out and they're all 9s and 10s. I don't know. I mean, I guess I played it when the dust settled and I had a bit more time to play it, and not having to play it at a review event. I just wasn't that impressed by it, to be honest. I was hugely impressed at first. The Barbershop Quartet, amazing. But then after that, it just sort of spiraled out of control very slowly. And as an overall piece of work, it was messy. It was messy. Anyway, Jamie Goslow asks, hi Matt, have you considered doing longer playthroughs of games? He's enjoying XCOM at the moment. Good. Glad you're enjoying that. He'd say he'd quite like to see a Dragon's Dogma playthrough. No way. The problem with that is, right, Dragon's Dogma, great game, talks about it a lot on Daft Souls, but there's a middle bit of that game that sags. It's like, it's about 6 hours where you're just trawling around having to kill the same monsters again and again and again so you can get to the end game, and it's just boring. Like, it's increasingly less fun to play, and you have to just be like a bit bloody-minded and go, I'm going to do this, so just head down, get it done. But to watch it, like, I'm not going to put up a bloody hour-long Let's Play of me going, hey, what am I doing this week? Oh, I'm going to kill goblins and that same thing again 4 times. Like, it's just boring. And it's why I don't really like Let's Plays and stuff, because they're so inconsistent in terms of like entertainment, you know? I think if somebody's being asked to sit and watch something for about 30, 40 minutes, it's just like, unless the game is made for it, it's boring, I think. I mean, I know a lot of people like that stuff, but I wouldn't watch it. I don't watch it. So I try and make things that I would watch. That's why I think XCOM works, because XCOM is reliably interesting, you know? There's a constant degree of suspense, there's a constant degree of things can go horribly wrong at any time. Even when things are going really well, there's just simple stuff, you know. It's watching the dice being rolled. It's every time you take a shot and it's a 50% chance. It's just watching the dice being rolled is kind of fun. And you know, you quite quickly with XCOM, because of the fact it does kill your characters off, realize that the cost for it's gambling. It's like watching gambling. You know, you can always see the odds, and you know what the costs are. You know what the benefits are going to be, but you also know how bad the cost can be if things go wrong. And I think it's consistently exciting. Even when you have boring weeks of XCOM playthrough where it's like half an hour of everything going relatively well, it's still fun to watch. Other games, not so much, I don't feel, personally. And that's why, you know, I kind of find like people playing Minecraft and Terraria for hours on end and bumbling away and just making jokes themselves. It can be really funny, but it's not consistently entertaining enough to be worth my time, I don't feel. But that's just a personal thing. And this whole thing is a personal thing, so there you go. One thing I'm doing now, as we've seen, this question was asked in March, so actually it's, you might not know, but obviously the Dark Souls thing I'm really interested in. Dark Souls 2 playthrough I'm doing of being like, treating it like a Let's Play, of recording footage when I'm playing, and then every day kind of recounting what happened to me in that play session, and then editing it together to create a more condensed sense of my enjoyment or what's happening or events of my playthrough, but in a way that is edited and a way that is concise and consistently entertaining, so that hopefully what I'll have when it's done is my entire first playthrough of Dark Souls 2 in a collection of videos, which in total will be probably no longer than about 30, 40 minutes. And I don't know, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. And actually, I'm more likely to do that, because then that allows me both worlds. It allows me to get immersed in a game without having to worry about being entertaining, and also create content about it in a way that makes it so I'm not wasting my time playing games. Because this is one of the weird curses that you get when you do what I do, is you find yourself playing games because you feel like you could maybe make a video about it. And when you find yourself playing a game and not making a video about it, or not capturing it, or not, you feel guilty. And you feel like, so it means that playing games stops being fun to a degree, because you lose the ability to just play a game because you want to play a game. And that doesn't, you know, that's just the way it is. Especially when it's like, I can't help it. I do want to make stuff for people, but I do feel bad sometimes. Like I was playing FTL the other week, and because I'm doing this sort of conceptual video about FTL, I don't really need footage from the game, because I thought about ways to try and blend the two of having real game footage and me being the captain, but I couldn't work out a way that it wouldn't be a bit shit, so I just decided not to. So it means I'm playing FTL and people go, oh, you're capturing it to make a video, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe. Anyway, the next game I'm thinking about doing after Dark Souls 2, and let me know what you think about this, actually, I'm really interested to know, and if you have any suggestions as well. But I'm thinking about doing The Witcher 2, just because I've played the first few hours of The Witcher 2 so many times. And I'm about, in my current playthrough, about maybe 4 or 5 hours in, so I think it wouldn't be that difficult to go back and make a video about what happened at the start, and then start it there. But I think that could be really cool. I think that could be nice, because The Witcher 2 is a really massive game. It's a game I really want to play properly, because I still haven't. But it's also quite an immersive game, quite an evocative game, and it's a game that's very much driven by your choices and the decisions you make. So I think having something where I'm able to basically talk about the story and my experiences with that and what's happening with that, and also decisions I've made and choices I've made, etc. And yeah, I think that could work, because I think that would be interesting. And also I could try and make it interesting as something that if you haven't played The Witcher 2 and you're interested in The Witcher 3, it maybe be something that people might want to watch because of that. Because obviously the Dark Souls thing is very much about kind of like, I think people who enjoy the Dark Souls 2 thing the most are people who've already played the game a bit, and so they have a connection point there, and they understand what I'm talking about or understand what I'm getting wrong. Whereas with The Witcher 2, it might be just a case of being a fun way of sort of not like a Let's Play, which would drag on for like 60 hours, but something a bit more contained, so people who are interested in The Witcher 3 but not going to have time to play The Witcher 2 could watch it and get a sense for the story, but also hopefully be entertained. Anyway, that's something I thought about, mainly because I really want to play Witcher 2, and if I did that, it would mean like, hey, I've now got an excuse to spend 3 hours a week playing The Witcher 2, and, you know, that would be cool, because I find it difficult to play games at the moment. Harris Khan asks, any chance we could get a Benefit Sponger Dota team together to play? You know what? I'm not playing much Dota at the moment. And this is the first time in a year, probably, I'm not playing Dota a lot. I was playing it a lot. I was playing it every night for a while. But I'm not playing it much at the moment. That may change, that may not. To be honest, the main reason I'm not playing it is as I was saying earlier, like I'm trying to spend my free time now playing games where I can make videos about them, because otherwise I'm just not playing games. And if I'm not playing games, I'm going to lose touch. And if I lose touch, I'm fucked. And you guys will become extremely less interested in what I'm doing. The other thing is I'm spending so much time on a computer that my hand is kind of being a bit funny at the moment. Like I haven't got RSI, and I don't think I have, but I'm trying to avoid it, which means I'm spending an awful lot of time editing and on the internet and making things with a computer. So actually, when I get to like the evening, I tend to at the moment try and do something different, because I don't want to use a mouse, because otherwise I think I am going to get RSI just from working too hard. Mainly, actually, I've been really busy with a Shut Up and Sit Down Gold Club, which is awesome. I make these like magazine assets, and I've spent hours in InDesign designing these things. They look awesome. They look fucking awesome. I love knowing how to make InDesign. Maybe one day I'll make a magazine. Maybe in the future. Because I have sort of got vague plans. I mean, I don't know what my long-term plans are with this, but I'm kind of... If this Patreon thing doesn't, like, slip off into obscurity and you guys don't all fuck off, I do like the idea of, because I have access to data about who's been funding what for how long and stuff, I do like the idea of maybe at some point kind of... either maybe Patreon will add more implementation, so you can have, like... You can easily get a list of people who have funded you for certain amounts of time or anything. I think they will add that sort of stuff. They seem really savvy and really on it. If not, moving it to another platform. I'd love to do something whereby in the future I can like do something for you guys, you know? And maybe that would be the sort of thing it would be. That would be awesome. If I can basically be like, I don't know. I don't want to promise anything, but I'd love it to be like something like if it got to a point where it's like, hey, you guys have been supporting me for a year or something. Like, you know, you've given me like, if you've given me like $5 a month for a year, then I'd love to be able to just do something like, hey, I'm actually going to make a little mini magazine or something and post it out to people. Again, I don't want to promise anything, because I would love to do something like that, and I think I'd like to, but it's time, because making these things takes ages and it fucks your wrist, because man, like designing things on computers, it's hard work, but it's really satisfying. And I should say, actually, I'll be a bit quiet for the next few weeks because of that, because of the fact that it's all done, it's all been designed, it's all gone to the printers, but then I actually have to physically assemble about 2,000 of the packs to send out to Shut Up and Sit Down fans, with the help of the other guys as well, and then get them shipped out. And we use a third-party company for that, because otherwise we'd be in post offices forever. But that combined with moving houses means I'd probably be like pretty light on video stuff for the next few weeks, just because it's all kicking off. But the good thing about Shut Up and Sit Down Gold Club stuff is it is like irregular. It's 4 times a year, so it's literally like once every 3 months. I'm busy for a week. Anyway. This is an easy one, unfortunately. Ryan Thompson says, hey Matt, sorry if you've answered this already. I'm not sure if I have, maybe I have. But he wants to know if there's any chance of me continuing my playthrough of System Shock 2 at any point. And he says, or is there some sort of awkward ownership mumbo-jumbo with video gamer involved? There isn't any, like, I don't think they would care if I continued it. Unfortunately, my save file, I think, is on their computer in the office, and I forgot to transfer it. So... yeah, maybe I could get it off them at some point, but it might be a bit confusing to have a playthrough of System Shock 2 carrying on a different YouTube channel. Maybe people wouldn't care. I don't know. We'll see. But again, though, I think I said this when I was at Video Gamer as well. I don't want to like get into the habit of doing too many kind of playthrough, let's play things, because otherwise you just don't make any good content. You know, you're just always making playthroughs. That's why, like at the moment, the XCOM thing and the Dark Souls thing, that's like me at full capacity. When one of those is done, I'll start a new one, but I'm not doing any more than that, because otherwise I'm just going to be doing just standard YouTube stuff all the time. And that's you know, I'm going to go at that, but it's not what I'm doing. And it's not what I want to do. Benjamin Doherty. I'm tired. I'm tired today. What are your big go-to game genres? I love RPGs. You probably worked that one already. I love turn-based strategy games. I do just like the medium in general, though, as he asks. I do. I mean, the only games I don't really play is I don't really play sports games because I'm not interested in sports. That's why I like video games, really. They've always been like sports for me. I like a bit of everything, to be honest. I kind of, whenever somebody says you've got to try this, it doesn't really matter what genre it is. If it's something that's special and something that's really good, I'll try it. But I don't have much time for fighting games just because they involve a huge amount of investment of time before you get into them. And I do tend to gravitate towards RPGs. I'm playing a lot of Monster Hunter at the moment. Jesus Christ, that's a time sink. I'm starting to get quite good at it, though, after about 25 hours. Still don't know what I'm doing, but hey, that's Monster Hunter. Okay. Liana asks, one of my favourite series ever is Legacy of Kain. Have you played the games? What's your opinion about them? I think they're awesome. I mean, I've only actually played Soul Reaver, actually. So I think that's awesome. I know some of the other ones are patchy, some of them are good. They're actually really varied, I think. Like, wasn't one of them like... One of them was like a top-down kind of RPG or something. I don't know. I don't really remember. But Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, in my mind, is like... It's so due a reboot. It was just such a cool, inventive idea that now would be... It'd be great. I think it was a fun... But I don't know. It was very much of its time. It was a brawler / platformer, which is a genre now that I love, but a genre that isn't doing very well and looks like it might go the way of the 3D platformer. Who knows? But yeah, Soul Reaver was amazing. I think it helped that I was a teenage boy and the main character was like, oh my god, he's a vampire with a cloak and no mouth. Oh, and he was called Raziel as well, which is he was called Raziel. He was called Raziel or Azrael. One or the other. I think he was called Raziel, and I'm getting confused because there was quite a cool Anne Rice book, who's the one who wrote the vampire books, I think it was called The Servant of the Bones, and that had a main character in it called Azrael, and that was quite a cool book as well. Anyway, it's great, and I think I like the fact that he wasn't a cool character in a traditional way. He didn't have a mouth, if I recall correctly. Underneath his scarf, he just had fangs. He was like this undead vampire who'd been around for fucking ages. That's something badass about that. I mean, that's getting your silent protagonist right, yeah? Not having somebody who has, like, snappy quips and, oh, well, fuck you. Just having somebody who is just, yeah. That's cool. I like that game a lot. Ben Churchus asks a simple one, similar to other questions about pre-releases in beta. What are your views on the resurgence of episodic content within games, and how should it be reviewed? Really difficult to know how to be reviewed, actually. I like episodic content to a degree, but it's difficult, as we've seen, because you're buying into something that you're not sure what you're buying into. And obviously, The Walking Dead gave me a lot of time for that, but increasingly, The Wolf Among Us hasn't. Like, I've only played the first two, but I really didn't like the second one. I thought it was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't know. That seems to be really dividing people. Some people really like it, but it kind of feels to me like the direction they're taking it, and actually episode 3 is out. I might play that at some point. I love the style of it. Don't get me wrong. I love the style of A Wolf Among Us, but I just think that I've actually got a review copy, so I haven't bought it. But if I bought the season pass based on the first episode, it's difficult because what they've done is in the first episode they've introduced mechanics which give you a feel for what the game is going to be like, and then in the second episode they've changed their mind. They've kind of gone, you know what, actually we're not going to make a game like that. We're going to make a game like this, and it's like, that's fine, but if I'd paid, you kind of buy an episode and think, yeah, no, I'm into this. I'll buy the rest. And if they then change it, then it's a bit funny. I mean, it's a subtle change, but the way that the story mechanics work is quite different in the second episode. I need to play the third one to see how that pans out. It becomes very much more about kind of like sitting back and watching rather than being super involved in it, which is, I don't know. I mean, you can tell that Telltale now have aspirations above what they did before because of the success of The Walking Dead. And I'm worried about that, you know, because I think that, I mean, I think for me, the kicker is going to be the Game of Thrones thing, if they nail the Game of Thrones game. If they nail the Game of Thrones game, I will love them forever because I love Game of Thrones and I'm fascinated to see what they do with that. But if they piss it up, I think I'll be really mad. I think the difficult there with the reviews is really difficult though. I mean, I remember I reviewed all of The Walking Dead season 1. I reviewed every episode for OXM. And it was really difficult because it started off being like, well, I like it, but obviously it depends how it pans out. And then it was like, well, it seems to be panning out, but hopefully it will continue. And then as it goes on, you're like, yeah, this episode's not as good as the others, but maybe it'll be better in context next time. And it is weird because it feels like you're trying to review a story when you're reviewing chapters of a book, and it's just like, it's a strange practice that doesn't always work that well. And especially because you're like, I didn't like to ever include any spoilers in my reviews of the Walking Dead game, so I wouldn't talk about any characters or any events, and so it means you're like incredibly vague with like what you're saying about how things work or don't, and it was a challenge. But I remember getting annoyed because when it was all out with The Walking Dead, I wrote a review for the whole thing, but there was this weird thing of being like, we didn't really have anywhere to put it in the magazine because it was like, this was when I was at OXM, I was like, we should have a review for the whole thing. Because it wasn't, you can't really review it until it's all there. But then because every month in the mag we'd had a little review of each episode, I couldn't then convince my editor to be like, no, we should give the whole series, the whole episode series, like now like at least a couple of pages to just review as a whole entity. Mainly because it's fucking 10 out of 10 shit. Like, it was just like probably my favourite game of that year aside from XCOM. So yeah, I think the problem is that it should be reviewed as a whole when it's done. But that's never going to happen because half the reason people do reviews is for like clicks, basically. That's how the web works. You know, people complain about reviews, people complain about review scores, but generally speaking, people like to read reviews and they like to look at review scores and see review scores. So it's one of these things where we kind of often turn our nose up at them, but people like that stuff. So it's going to continue. And that means that reviews being done on the day, even when it's not always necessarily a good thing, is going to continue. James Connell simply says, as a fellow sufferer, of massive hair, respect on making it work, Matt. It's an underrated irritation to life. It is and it isn't. I've probably mentioned this already before, but I used to have terrible hair, the worst hair in the world, until I realised that investing in high-quality conditioner is a life-changing thing to do. I personally recommend Aussie. I'm not getting paid to do it, but Aussie conditioners are bloody amazing. And they've got this spray leave-in conditioner. That's all I put in my hair. Only thing I ever do in it. It's good stuff. Changed my life. Make you cry. Darren Russell. Any chance for you to do anything on the Silent Hill series? I'd love to, but I never played it. So, no, to be honest. I don't know what it'd be like to go and play it now. I think I've heard Silent Hill 2 is still good, but I think maybe they have got a bit wonky over the years, and I don't know. I've never played them. I've heard great things. I know a lot about them, and I've kind of had the endings, a lot of them ruined for me, so I don't know if I want to play them or not, because I know too much about them. But yeah. No, probably not. Daniel Sammy asks, in regards to the consoles, do you reckon this is going to be a generation where AAA high graphical fidelity games are going to be 1080p 60 FPS once the hardware has gone through its own optimization period? That's quite a lot of talking. No, I don't. I don't know why, to be honest. It's sort of mental. I'm so underwhelmed about PS4 and Xbox One at the moment. So underwhelmed. Just because it's like, well, I mean, I don't want to sound like that guy, but I've got a PC that can run most games at 60 frames a second, 1080p now. Like, out of the box, just done. And I mean, the PS4 seems to be doing that, but they're talking about how apparently the cloud updates on the Xbox are making the frame rates better and stuff, but it's just like, what the fuck are you doing, guys? Like, it should be 1080p, 60 frames a second out of the box. And we will see optimization, but I remember when the Xbox first came out, they were all like, oh yeah, it's only 720p, but it'll be 1080p soon, like, soon. They were like, it'll get optimized, but then it didn't, because actually then developers wanted to make prettier games with more particle effects, and actually, generally speaking, developers were happy to sacrifice the frame rate in order to make the games prettier. As to whether or not that pays off or not, I don't know. That's a really tricky question, because people always get really fucked off about frame rates being below 60 frames a second these days. Personally, I don't really care that much. I think 60 frames a second is lovely, but I can live without it, as I am doing now, playing Dark Souls 2 on a PS3. I'll buy it on PC as well, and when it's 60 frames a second and 1080 on my PC with a pad, I'll go, oh, this is fucking awesome. But it's a nice to have. It's not an essential. Many people would disagree with me, but you're assholes. Come on. Saying that 60 frames per second is essential for enjoying a game. Like, I think you've got about 30 years of proof that that's not true. Like, you know, I don't know how many frames a second my Mega Drive got, but Gunstar Heroes is still one of the best games I've ever played, or ever will play. So, yeah, I mean, it is just people being tech assholes. I mean, you can argue that you lose stuff. But then the same was true, I guess, in our generation when it was like we got fucked over with the Mega Drive and SNES because PAL and NTSC were different like TV rates then. So games were supposed to be 60 hertz and most games played in 50 hertz, which meant the games actually physically played slower. It wasn't just that they weren't as smooth, it's that the games were physically slower. They were being slowed down somehow. I may be wrong, it may be exactly the same as frame rate, but I seem to recall people saying that actually it slowed things down, which meant the music was slower, which is really odd because now I go onto YouTube and I listen to like the versions of songs from Mega Drive games or SNES games I loved, and I'm like, oh, this sounds wrong. It's like a bit too fast. And it's like, it isn't. It was just slowed down in the UK. But we put up with it, and it didn't stop the games being fun. But then I guess back then there were still people going, oh, it's 60 hertz or nothing. Fuck you. I don't know. I don't really care about it. But at the same time, I think it is disappointing that, as we've seen last time, people promised that things would get better, but actually they didn't get better. Games just got prettier, and the actual quality of how the games ran largely remained the same. In terms of like some games were very, very smooth running at launch. Some games were very shonky at launch. And at the end of the cycle, some games ran very smoothly and some games were shonky. Nothing really changed. So I worry now that despite their bleating, gosh, it's got dark again. Sorry, I can't really help that with the lighting. It's not as bleak as it looks, but I promise I'm fine. I'm a happy man. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I don't really care too much about graphics. I care about art design. But at the same time, I just think like, when you're investing in a piece of hardware, and I said this before, when you're investing in a piece of hardware, you want it to be powerful out of the box because you don't want it to cause any trouble. We don't know what games are going to be like in 5 years' time, and you want to have the most powerful equipment possible so that that game can deal with it in the best way possible without having to make massive sacrifices to visuals or visual quality, right? And that's why I think the PS4 is just, if I was going to get one console out of the two, and I probably will at some point, I definitely will when the games start coming out. PS4, it just runs things out of the box just immediately. It's just running things better. And it's like, to me, that's a good sign because Microsoft have got all this talk about how it's going to be running better on the Xbox One and all this stuff, but is it? I mean, if it requires all this cloud stuff, that sounds a bit complex. Are you going to ensure that developers go through that hassle? Because it seems to me that the whole thing with the PS4 is it's just a console that's built so you can be lazy as developers. Comparatively lazy. I hate when people say lazy developers. It's like development's actually fucking complicated. But they can be comparatively lazy. They can just go, oh, it's got shitloads of RAM, just chuck it at it. Hey, it works quite well, brilliant, done. Where it's like, all of the fluff with Microsoft is like, oh no, there's going to be changes to the system, firmware and the cloud that are going to make it. And it's like, yeah, are you going to teach everyone to do that? Are you going to make sure that they all do it properly? Because otherwise we're going to get into the same situation last time of games being optimized for one console and then just being chucked onto another one quickly. Anyway, we will see. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with it. And to be honest, both consoles at the moment, fuck off. I'm really annoyed actually that Sony made a big deal about being like, yeah, you'll be able to like, there'll be a patch so you can use the Elgato, so you can like capture from PS4. It's been out for like how long now? 6 months? Nothing. And that's one of the reasons I haven't bought one actually, is it's like, well, I'm not going to buy a fucking PS4 if I can't capture from it. You know, I make videos about games. I'm not going to buy a console that I don't need, that I then can't use to do what I do. So, I don't know, it just seems to me a bit like hot air. They said a lot of that stuff at the point at which Microsoft were really kind of on the ropes, and they were just punching them in the face going, hey guys, yeah, we'll do all this, we'll do whatever you want. And it's like, well, fucking do it then. Because I'm a bit worried that since then someone's tapped them on the shoulder and gone, can we maybe hold off on that because, piracy, etc., etc. Okay. I'll do one last question. There's another question about meeting people. Actually, that's a different question. It's from someone called Chris saying, hi, I'm just wondering how you... It's like, how would I like to meet someone that I'm a fan of? He says, personally, I just want to have a fun at bar with them or something and leave them alone if they want to. I guess that's it, yeah. I mean, I've met a couple of people in my life who I've been really big fans of, and I tend to try and... I don't know, it's difficult. I think very often what I do, and this is actually what most people who I've met who like my work do, is if I see someone who I love their work, I sometimes, especially if they're not maybe like really famous or whatever, I like to just go over and say, hello, just want to say I think your work is amazing. Like, I think it's great. Love your stuff. Please keep it up. Thanks very much. Bye. Because then it's like, if people want to have a chat, and whether either they want to have a chat with you or they have time to have a chat with you, they're interested, then it's on them. They can then be like, oh, great. Oh, what's your name? And they can. But it means that if they're in a hurry, or if they're just not in the mood, or they're busy, or they've got their mind in other places, then they can just basically smile and be nice, and you can leave. That's what I try and do, because that's what people do to me, and that's what I kind of prefer, to be honest, because I often like to chat to people, but sometimes if you're busy, it makes it really awkward. If you're actually, I need to get somewhere, I need to do something. I don't want to feel like I'm making excuses, but sometimes it's like, I've got to do something, actually. Sorry, this isn't a good time. So I like to try and keep it light. Sometimes as well, like, you can just see people don't want to be bothered. I actually sat on a flight with Jules Holland in front of me once, and I realised I was getting off the plane. I was like, he stood right next to me, and I just really wanted to say, I love your show. I've gotten so many great bands through your show. But he looked fucking tired and in a really bad mood. So I just didn't say anything, because I just thought, it might be that I tell him this and he smiles and it makes his day, or it might be that he just goes, it's early in the morning, mate, leave me alone. So I decided not to. It's difficult, though. It's difficult. I tend to just get very nervous around people who I really like. But I do find that if it's somebody who makes stuff that I think is amazing, and somebody who I feel is not appreciated as much as they should be in my mind, I do like to go out of my way to tell them that they're amazing, because yeah, why not? I mean, there are lots of amazing people in the world who don't get what they deserve and don't get the success that they deserve. And I think that, I can't change that necessarily, but if I can improve their day by giving them a pat on the shoulder and saying, you know what you do is fucking awesome, then that's a great thing to do. And you know what, people have done that to me, and it's meant so much, actually. Like, that's because you never know where somebody is, like, in their mind right then. Some days I feel incredibly confident, other days I don't. And I've had times in the past where I've been feeling really quite low about things, just generally feeling underappreciated or stressed, or what's the point, etc. And sometimes, you can just be in that mood, and then somebody will just stop you and say, oh, I've seen your videos, I love your videos. And that just, like, it kind of does, yeah, it can be that sort of thing where it literally just changes your day and makes your day just better. Sometimes when you're having one of the worst weeks, just something like that can really, really change things. So I think it's important to make sure that people whose work you love feel appreciated. So it's nice. So don't do it to me, because it seems obvious. But if you've got somebody else whose work you love, just every now and then, maybe just drop them a tweet or something, or just want to say, your stuff is amazing. I love it. Because I think appreciation goes a long way. So that's how I do it. But at the same time, yeah. I mean, when I met Charlie Brooker, I was terrified. That's because I got invited along to meet him because he wanted me to do some work with him. I think I just spent about half an hour standing in a bar, smiling and laughing and being half terrified and half looking like a muppet, and just being like, "What the fuck am I doing here?" And becoming a really nervous child again. But yeah, hanging out in bars with people, it's all good. There is that annoying thing, though, of also, like, sometimes you want to be careful who you meet. Like, a few of people who used to be my heroes, I've now actually realised they're kind of arseholes, which is a real shame. People who kind of walk that line between, they seem to be really confident and charismatic, when actually you realise that that's kind of an ego thing. And I don't know, I'm not a big fan of egos. I've certainly got one myself, but I try and keep it in check, And I hope that this stuff, actually, I hope that these videos kind of act as a reminder of that, to a degree. Because I'd hope that you guys would see that I wouldn't be able to do this every week and talk to you through a lens every week for this long without it being honest, without it being real, So hopefully you'll know that I'm not an arsehole because of that. But sometimes when you're just seeing people's work, their products, and never actually really talking to them or seeing them as a person, you kind of find out when you meet them, they're dicks. So yeah, that's how I'd say approach people. Approach people, say hello, but if they're arseholes, be careful. Sometimes you don't want to meet people, but hey, that's it. Anyway, I've rambled on for far too bloody long, and I am getting my way through this question backlog. I'm doing it. I'm actually really close. I think next week I should be able to get through the backlog of questions on the Q&A thing. And then from that point onwards, what I'll do is every time I put up a video every week on the Patreon page for the Q&A backers, I'll have the questions for next week in there, and I'll answer the first 10 or so. So then it'll be like, hey, we'll have a system. It'll work. Beautiful. You're beautiful. We're beautiful. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you next week. Bye!